So let's get our acceleration here with the all-wheel drive Camry. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2021 Toyota Camry with the all-wheel drive system. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Toyota here in Murray for giving me some time with this Camry. Check out their inventory in the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the all-wheel drive Camry, we have a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 25 around town and then 34 on the highway, with power outputs being 202 horsepower and then 182 pound-feet of torque. Let's go to the front end of the all-wheel drive Camry. So first and foremost, you guys can see that we've got these LED lights, and you've got like the LED accent lights that almost look like fish gills coming off from it, which I think is pretty interesting, and I'll go over that in just a little bit. And then I love these two lines here on the hood. Definitely makes it look a lot more muscular. And then you guys can see you've got the Toyota logo that doubles as a sensor, and then most of this trim right here, and I know it looks like it's black, but it's actually really dark gray. And then you've got the chrome trim all around. And you guys remember the fish gills? If you look at the front end, it almost looks like a fish from the front end perspective. So it's kind of like interesting what they did with the design. It's like it looks like a fish, and then you got little fish scale LED lights. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but that's what it looks like to me. Coming on the side here, I've got two 35mm tires and 18-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. As for the design on the wheels, they basically go for like the silver with the dark gray inserts, which I think just looks really good in general. It's just like a classically good looking wheel. And then I like how you have like the little mud flaps behind the wheels. Obviously it's the all-wheel drive, so they expect you to drive in all sorts of weather conditions, but I just thought that was an interesting little touch with the car. Other than that, here's it from the side view, which just looks like any other Camry. Go into the trunk here of the all-wheel drive Camry. You guys can see you get a Camry covering here for the rear, but you guys can see trunk space is really good. It's absolutely massive back here, so storage space is not an issue whatsoever. But if we actually well, somehow get under the floor mat here and pick this up, you guys can see got a bunch of stuff happening here if you ever get stuck on the side of the road just under the covering right there. But yeah, other than that, pretty simple here in the back end. Here's the door panel in the rear of the Camry. So first off, you can see that you've got this silver trim that goes all along here straight to the door handle itself. And you've got soft touch. We're actually going to rest your arm, and then all along the door panel as well in darker gray, which I think the contrast actually looks pretty nice. And then here are the seats in the rear. So you've got soft touch covering the whole seats, perforations there in the center, and again, it's actually pretty soft to the touch, but let's actually pop in. So stepping in, I do have to duck a little bit since it is a sedan. If you guys are running, I'm 5'11", I've got a decent amount of headroom, and legroom's actually really solid, so it's really comfortable sitting back here. And then there's a couple of vents just right next to it. And finally, if we wedge our fingers in there, we've got an armrest with some cup holders back here, and this is the back of the all-wheel drive Camry. Here's the door panel on the front of the Camry, so you guys can see you've got that same line that continues to the door handle, and then you've got the dark gray trim with the lighter gray trim where you're actually going to rest your arm. All of your window controls right here with your mirror adjustments, and then here are the seats at the front. So just as nice as the seats in the rear, I love the little stripe there in the center, just a little suede insert. But you got perforations there all along the center portion, and then you guys can see your adjustments there on the side of the seat. And then you've got our pedal layout here, which the pedals actually look pretty nice. Got the Camry logo right there on the floor mats, and then this is for the light controls. You've got your stability control right next to it. You've got this for the rear, and then you've got this for the gas cap, and then you've got your heated steering wheel. And there's one more look before we pop in. Here is the steering wheel with the all-wheel drive Camry. You guys can see you've got soft touch all around the steering wheel itself, and then you do have darker stitching there on the center portion. And then we can see closer here, you've got the controls for the cruise control, your lane departure assistance, collision assistance, and then this is for the radio, volume controls on the other side for the voice command controls. These are controls for the center stack, and then you've got your stock for the lights and turn signal, and then the stock for the windshield wiper on the other side. And other than that, that is the steering wheel. Now here's the center gauge cluster with the Camry. So you've got analog gauges on the left and right side for the RPMs and the speed respectively. And then you've got that screen there in the center that gives you different bits of information on the Camry Camry itself, nothing too crazy. Just show you different bits of information like the fuel economy, the safety tech, all that kind of stuff. And then there are some drive modes. So first off, you've got an eco mode, and you can see it turns green, and you've got your normal mode, which is normal, and then you've got your sport mode, which is red and aggressive. Even though the sport's in green, the bottom portion turns red. So yeah, those are your drive modes. Here is the center screen. So first off, let's pop it into reverse. You can see there's a backup camera with trajectory lines, and the trajectory lines do turn with the steering wheel, and then you can just press it and you can go to a little bit of a different view with the angling on the camera, which is obviously nice. It's gonna make parking a little bit easier. As for the rest of the infotainment system, first off, you've got all these buttons on either side, which are just shortcut buttons, which is nice. So you can go to the main menu. Response time on the screen is actually really good. Like when you press stuff, it pretty much happens right away, which is really nice. And the response time on the buttons is really nice as well. So just overall, the touchscreen, just a good system. Now just down below the infotainment system, you guys can see I've got this black trim because, well, you can kind of see my reflection in it. Hello, Ben's forehead. Anyways, you got your climate controls right here. It does have a dual zone climate, and it's all pretty easy controlled via that little area. And then just down here, you can see you've got a 12 volts and a USB, and then you do get a wireless phone charger as well, just in front. And then here is the shifter for the 8-speed automatic, and you can shift the gears yourself if you like. You've got a couple cup holders right here. You've got your drive mode select. So again, you've got your eco, your normal, and your sport with the auto hold, and then the parking brake just behind it. Heated seat controls are just here in this little area. And then here's a center console. So you've got soft touch on top of the center console, and then you press the little button. That's what opens it up. And then you guys can see another couple of USBs. For some reason, my camera doesn't want to focus on it, so I'm not gonna put you guys through that. Soft touch all along the dash, and then you've got this really nice trim here at the top, and I think that's literally the only place that I can see in the interior that has that trim. So it's just like random, just like thrown in there. Kind of interesting. And then we've got the glove box, which it's interesting, like it just opens weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's a good glove box, has a decent amount of storage space. It opens weird. Up top here, we've got our little sunglass holder, which also kind of looks weird. It's absolutely massive for a sunglass holder. And then you've got your light controls up here as well. And then it's a ladder colored headliner, which matches with the seats and everything. So that's all for that. Now that we're done going over the interior on this all-wheel drive Camry, let's quickly get into the pricing. So in terms of pricing, this particular Camry is in the XLE package, obviously with the all-wheel drive. Stickers for about $33,000 before any type of market adjustment. That being said, let's take this Camry out and see how she drives. Well, let's quickly talk about visibility before we set off here in this 2021 Camry with all-wheel drive. You guys can see visibility of the hood. It's a little bit of a longer hood, but it's easy to see out of. Here's your visibility through both the mirrors. They do come with blind spot monitoring. And then here's all throughout the rest of the rear, which for a sedan, I'd rate it at average. And that being said, let's set off. We are setting off here in the 2021 Camry with all-wheel drive, and geez, I was getting blinded there by the sun. But first and foremost, let's talk about the road noise and the ride quality. So from a ride quality perspective, the thing that I love about Toyotas is they're just so smooth on the road. Toyota has definitely nailed it from a luxury car perspective. I know that Toyota is not technically the luxury car brand, it's Lexus, but a lot of stuff that happens with Lexus gets carried over into Toyota and vice versa. So yeah, from a ride quality perspective, this car is so comfortable. Like, there's a reason why people have hundreds of thousands of miles on Camrys. Obviously, they're really reliable, but they're also so comfortable to drive that it's just like a car that you can put tons of miles on, no problem, and you're just gonna be loving every mile. But let's actually get a turn here, and steering's really light. I just drove a CHR before this, and the steering on that was significantly lighter. This Camry steering feels a little bit heavier than that CHR. In terms of the directness, I would rate it at about average. This car definitely feels like it has a little bit better turn-in with the all-wheel drive system versus the front-wheel drive system. It kind of feels like it just, that little bit of extra grip and all that makes this car just feel a little bit better from that perspective. But yeah, overall, ride quality is great. Turn-in is great with this car as well. And then in terms of the road noise, I mean, again, it's about average for the segment, but you really just don't hear a whole lot coming into the cabin. So it's just a really good experience. So let's get our acceleration here with the all-wheel drive Camry. So the shifts are very smooth. I'm in the manual mode and the sport mode, if you guys were wondering. The gear shifts are very smooth. It's definitely not the quickest automatic transmission. It does take a second. for it to basically go into the next gear, even on throttle. It definitely does take a second, but it's extremely smooth. So again, I feel like this is definitely more tuned towards the luxury side rather than the sports side with the car. And then in terms of the acceleration, it's average for this segment. You guys heard the power output. It's not crazy quick or anything like that. If you want a faster Camry, get the Camry with the V6, but sadly, you cannot get a V6 all-wheel drive, which Toyota, if you're listening, make a V6 all-wheel drive Camry. I mean, you've got the underpinnings because you have that in the Lexus. You've got the V6 with the all-wheel drive. So all you got to do is just plop that into the Camry, and we'll be happy campers over here. But let's get into some things up here with the Camry. So first and foremost, from an exterior styling perspective, obviously the Camry's pretty conservative, and so if you just want a car that, again, isn't going to stand out or anything like that, then the Camry is going to be the car for you. Definitely still does have like a nice modern design though. From the interior perspective, this is not the fully loaded package. This is kind of like your middle of the line package, and you've got really nice seats with this car, and you've got just like nice materials with the steering wheel. Design's pretty nice as well, so I think the interior is actually really nice. This car comes with a ton of safety tech, so it's solid on that. The all-wheel drive obviously makes it pretty practical, and so as an overall package, the Camry is actually pretty nice from an interior and exterior perspective. The only thing that I have a gripe with is the fact they don't offer you a V6 with this all-wheel drive system. Like, I think they should just give you both. Like, if you want the 4-cylinder, get the 4-cylinder, but if you want all-wheel drive and you want the V6, I really think they should offer that, and that's my only recommendation for this car. Other than that, it's a really good car. Now, that is going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Toyota Camry with the all-wheel drive system. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Large Miller Toyota here in Murray for giving me some time with this Camry. Check out their inventory in the link below. I'll see all of you in that next video.